All right, here we go. Beautiful Tuesday. Good afternoon, one and all. Folks, we have the breaking news. We have the story. I believe it is still an exclusive. Let's see if that changes. But if you haven't seen it, you're going to hear me refer you to it. We have the story on depetro.com. Check it out. I'm well aware that it's nowhere else. That's why we use the word exclusive. Now, let me just check her audio. This Debbie does such a great job. I get it. Some people don't understand that. How come? There it is. Sound is good. I get it. I get people. How come I can't see this anywhere else? Let me see that. It's a very serious story. Yes. Ponaganset, whatever term you want to use. And it's in the spirit. I get, now folks, remember right now we're live on X, we're live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook. So X, YouTube, Facebook, and in 4 minutes, we're going to be live on AM 1380. All right, Roger says we're ready to go. That sounds good to me. Yes. So there's Henry B. Yep. I get it. Believe me. Some people don't understand the concept of exclusive. How come I just Googled this? And I don't say that's why it's called an exclusive, Harry. Okay, try to keep up. You know, folks, I think a lot of people are learning now as adults. You know, I think a lot of people realize in hindsight, maybe it was not a good idea to leave school in the 8th grade. And believe me, no one finds out more or deals every day with individuals that are clearly illiterate. So, you know, I think I saw a TikTok where there's this person on TikTok and she's starting to do math lessons online. That sounds like a really good idea. That sounds like a really good idea to me. So, Pam Bondi, schooling Sheldon. By the way, that young girl missing in Providence, she was located. So that would mean, what does that mean? Well, that tells me that that was a runaway. Because notice there's no one, they're not announcing an arrest. They're not saying anyone's in custody. They're not announcing that there's anyone facing charges with the disappearance of that child. And but the police did put it out. But much like I have mentioned, that there's a huge difference between a missing person and a runaway. And that, again, seems to be another example of just someone that, and listen, I get that the parents want them to come home, but thank goodness it was just a runaway. All right, we're going to start in just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Let me get rid of that. And I'll get rid of that. Okay. There we go. Yes. There's Brenda. There's Denise Oliver. Hello, one and all. Yes. Everyone reading. There's Chris. Does such a great job for us. The guy's a hero on TikTok. Good afternoon, Jessica Perry. That's right. The only one with the story. There's Janet Dwyer. There I am, Henry B. Now, folks, again, I like creative. Oh, what's going on today? Anyone want to tell Nancy? Check out DePietro.com. I'm going to talk about the story. I'm going to tell you how we got here. I recognize there's a lot of new people, right? A lot of new people that maybe are unfamiliar with my work. And they certainly don't miss an opportunity to make sure that everyone knows that. So, all right, we're going to begin at 1:06 on what is just another beautiful day. It's Tuesday afternoon. This is the John DePietro Show on this Tuesday, October 7th. 2 years ago was that horrible day in Israel, and war has been going on ever since. But we have a big story that right now, I do believe it will change. But right now, it remains, I am surprised it's still an exclusive. We broke it last night, and I am somewhat surprised, but we're going to walk you through it. But folks, this portion of the program, now right now, there's Brian. We are live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. We're also live on Facebook and X and YouTube. This portion of our program brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. Look for that's their Facebook page. Homegrown mums and kale are just outstanding. They have pumpkins, straw bales, corn stalks, gourds, Indian corn, native vegetables. This is the ideal time for planting. Stop in and see them. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Now, folks, you're going to hear me mention quite a bit. And we have I'll tell you who's having a good day, and that's the Coesit Inn, because they are proud sponsors of DePietro.com, that we have dropped this bombshell of a story that, by the way, this will be a national story. I know the news. This will be a national story. I get that some people don't always get that. But one thing I know is when, in fact, you have a story that has the potential, first, whether or not it's going to be a story statewide, then whether or not it's going to be a story in New England, a story like this will take off. So, but check out DePietro.com. You're going to hear me mention it quite a bit. Brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Remember, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. Should I do one more? Let me do one more, and then we're going to begin. And I want to, this is important, and I want to do one more just to remind people about Propane Plus. Check them out. Especially, they have a very user-friendly website. It's propaneplus.com. You just log on, residential or commercial, heating or cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus. The Johnson family, they're just fantastic. Folks, if you use propane, I implore you to use Propane Plus. So for those of you that have been watching it, and if you haven't, I want to walk through a little bit. We have a very explosive story on our website, DePietro.com. No eyes. So right now we have two. We have a third installment of this going up. And I want to be very clear with people, because I think we do have a lot of new people. Social media can be tedious because some people just use it to think out loud. If they don't know something, it doesn't stop them from putting a comment. If they have wrong information, it doesn't stop them from putting a comment. But I want to touch on this story in Ponaganset. I have broken other stories. There are some of you that may be unaware of that, but I'm very aware of it. And people that have followed me over the years, whether it was we were breaking stories with Operation Plunderdome in 1999. I broke the story about Wendy Collins and former Speaker John Harwood. Not everyone breaks news. It's not easy to break news. And I've learned a lot over the years of doing it. Most recently, we broke the story that it was going to be full demolition regarding the Washington Bridge. We broke story to start off the year with the husband in that horrible shooting in West Greenwich. But let's talk about the Ponaganset story. I am well aware of the consequences of this Ponaganset story regarding the gym teacher. Very aware of it. And some of the comments are people that, I don't normally like to use cliche of like, it's not my first rodeo, but I want you to understand that when we post a story like we have posted on depetro.com, I am well aware of the consequences. We've had the story. I've been working on the story. Last night we didn't do Road Patrol Live because I believe we were close. Initially, we just put out that there was an investigation into a gym teacher at Ponaganset High School. But as the night went on, we had the name of the teacher, but I felt that much more confidence in it. And so then we did the story and named the teacher with who she is and with her photo. And so what I want people to understand, though, and again, it's not necessarily my job to educate people, but I'm telling you, we don't approach something like that. In one of the stories we had, rumors have been swirling. So then people say, you're posting this based on rumor. I assure you it's not a rumor. So we have the basic facts. I get that we don't have all the details. That's the way many times these stories work. I approach a story of this magnitude think of it as we're in the first inning of a 9-inning game. You don't always have all the information. But as far as this story, I would not post the name and photo of this gym teacher if we didn't have it locked down. There's some complications here. It's true. And I get weird, odd requests from people. Why aren't you naming the student? Well, because when this activity went on, the student was a minor. And I'm not convinced that the student did anything wrong. So we're not naming that. No, we don't have all the details. I assure you right now, the Ponaganset School District, of which I've contacted the principal, I contacted the superintendent, and they're frozen right now. But these are very serious allegations, especially in light of the fact that some parents have now come forward and told me that there were complaints from parents and teachers and nobody did anything. Boy, doesn't this sound familiar? Yeah, it reminds me of North Kingstown and what happened with North Kingstown and the naked fat coach. So I also think that it's possible that with this type of story, it's possible it's a gender situation. I'm not making excuses for it, but I think we know the North Kingstown naked fat coach. No, same thing. It's so predictable. And I'll put her up because it's on the website. It is. We have people posting, I just found out she doesn't even work there. I don't know how to even go into some of that foolishness. So I don't know this individual. I actually know some of the family, but there are parents that are, and rightfully so, have questions about this gym teacher. But I want you to know, what do we know? We know that the gym teacher was not in school yesterday. Haven't heard that the teacher is there, certainly not today. The school district is being quiet. But I want you to know the sourcing on this is 100% solid. And I'm not revealing all of that. So, but of course, we're not going to just put something on this story unless we have it nailed. And I'm very comfortable with the sources we have on it. And they are allegations, but I've heard the police are involving. We're trying to get that confirmed. But I feel pretty confident about that they at least know about it. There's a lot of hurdles to something like this because someone was a juvenile when this apparently started. But we have the basics of the story on the website, depetro.com. Do we have all the details? Of course not. We're the only ones that have it. So I have not seen that. Gym teacher resigns, allege. I'm unfamiliar. Oh, that's not a. I'll look into that, but I'm gonna. No, I don't. They haven't had. I'm unaware that they've had anything. So All right, Karen, we don't need to put that. I'll check if someone else has something like that. But I don't consider. I mean, I know the people that run that, and let me just. I'm well aware that we're live. Um, all right, I am skimming there. Talk about burying the lead. Um, I don't. Again, when we posted it last night, no one else had it. So I don't know if they just posted something. It wouldn't be the first time that someone, now I hate this because I'm trying to explain the story. Maybe someone meant well, but I'm not sharing them. They don't share my stuff. So, but I have not heard anything about that they had it. Um, but I do want to in real time check it out. Um, all right. Well, uh, okay. I'm seeing this right now. This is actually NRI Now, Northern Rhode Island News. All right. So the superintendent confirmed to them a gym teacher at Ponaganset has resigned amid allegations misconduct under investigation by the Rhode Island State Police. Superintendent Renee Palazzo confirmed she no longer works for the district, declined to comment further. State police are handling it. This was just posted in the last hour. So, okay. According to several accounts online, involved with a former student since his sophomore year. Those who claim to have knowledge of the situation says the relationship came to light. See, they're quoting me, but without giving me credit. So I don't know who that is. So no, I'm not going to give them credit. So whoever Sandy Hall is. So I'm not going to. Thank you. Yes, we were. Thank you, Karen. All right. So they got a hold of the superintendent. So it furthers the story. So, all right. So they're mad. Whoever this Sandy Hall is. I don't know who Sandy Hall is. So thanks for ripping me off, Sandy. Just posted an hour ago. Doesn't quote. That's plagiarism. But I want to come back to touch on. All right, so there you have it. Now we have someone else. They have at least furthered the story. She has resigned, and the state police are investigating, even though the hagbag that ripped off and plagiarized the story could have obviously cited us as the source, decided not to do that, but now is in fact running with the story and has confirmed she did resign, and the state police are investigating. Now I want to get to the part about how serious this is, and at the very least, so now some of the people now they can attack Northern RI. I was unaware. I didn't know about that news source. I was unaware, but I do want to remind you folks about. So yes, the gym teacher, Sandy the sea hag. Folks, this portion of the program, remember, if you ever have a flood, Serve Pro of Providence. Flood, disaster strikes, fire, pipe burst, smoke damage, Serve Pro of Providence. Call them today, 401-941 5500. 401-941 5500. Fast, thorough, professional. If you are in an emergency, disaster strikes, fire hits your home, fire hits your business, suddenly that's all you need to focus on. Serve Pro of Providence, 401-941 5500. All right, so the superintendent does respond to this little online rag who ripped off our story, and I get that. So now they're upset because we broke the story So they're willing to confirm that the teacher no longer works there and that the state police are investigating. But it comes back to, so now we are, in fact, again, folks, there is value. I search for people that tell me information, have information that I don't know. So thank you, Chuck. And there it is. We'll go after this little hag bag later. Northern Rhode Island News. Yeah. We'll deal with her later. We'll get our attorneys on the case. Yes, a commercial. This is not a commercial-free program, Justin. Yes. So if that's a problem, then you don't have to be here. There's good news. You don't have to be here if you don't like it. Yes, I'm not like NPR. We are not commercial-free. But what this Sandy Hall has done, without quoting us, has furthered the story. And now she's doing her own thing and basically has confirmed the story we broke last night. But I want to come back to what this, we can do a lot. Well, look at this, like the nerve. Here we go. Nope. Yeah, I can do you one better than that. Right now, we are talking about Ponaganset. Okay? Right now, we're dealing with Ponaganset. If that's a problem, then you don't have to tune in. But that's what we're talking about right now. As I have stated in the past, you don't just barge in and start demanding answers on something. So if there was an update on the teacher in Barrington, don't you think I'd be talking about that? The answer is yes. So people get upset when we break news. Yep. And that's quite all right because it doesn't stop. We just keep getting more powerful. So now, folks, but what needs to really be addressed here with the Ponaganset situation is the fact that much like the naked fat coach in North Kingstown, much like the naked fat coach, right, doing the naked fat test in North Kingstown, there were rumors. There were people talking about it. And the biggest question that came down in North Kingstown is how come nothing was done about it? It went on for a long time. And Ponaganset, they're going to face questions of this nature. They're going to face questions of this nature. And there should be questions about this and how was it going on. So just to be clear, now right now at 1:24, now you're going to start to see other news outlets start to jump into the mix and report on the story. And that's part of it. But when we broke it last night and went through today, we were the only ones that had it. And I want to also just touch on, and yes, we do commercials. We're not like NBR. Yes, we're not commercial free. We're on commercial platforms. On the radio, there are commercials. On YouTube, there are commercials. On X, sometimes there are commercials. And there's nothing wrong with that. They make the program roll. So if that's a problem for people, you definitely have options. So speaking of options, what you also want to remember is Kids Club. Kids Club on the Pike. If you're looking for options for daycare, or maybe you're looking for a place to have a birthday party, before or after school care or preschool, Kids Club on the Pike. Half and full day programs for preschool children ages 3 through 5. Before and after school care, provide transportation. Before and after care for school age children ages 5 through 12. Kids Club on the Pike. Also perfect for a birthday party venue. It's Kids Club on the Pike. They're located right off of 295. They're right on the Cranston-Johnston line on Plainfield Pike. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Folks, call them 401-443-5336, 443-5336 for Kids Club in the Pike. So, yes, thank you, Lynn Miller. When we break the story, and I want to also, maybe I do need to use this as an example to explain to people. When we use the word exclusive, and then people say, I'm looking and I can't find someone else that has the story. That's why it's an exclusive. That's what it means. So, and there are some people, I just checked channel 10, they don't have it. I just checked channel 12. Listen, do you remember Rick Pitino? When he was the coach of the Celtics, he gave that famous rant of Larry Bird's not walking through that door, sports fans. Robert Parrish is not walking through that door. Kevin McHale is not walking through that door. And if they did, they'd be old and gray. There are some people, your media, your version of media, it's 2025. There are some people, their idea of media is stuck in the 80s and the 90s. Jim Taricani is not walking through that door. Rest in peace. Jack White died 20 years ago. How come Channel 10? How come Channel 12? Listen, I don't know what to tell you. Many times, those of you that watch Road Patrol, we're first at the scene. Some people, well, hold on. If this is going on, where's everyone else? Listen, the Providence Journal isn't published twice a day anymore. The Providence Journal is a shell of itself. I just checked Channel 12. They don't have it. Yeah, you're living in the past. Now, listen, I don't write full-length stories. We went with the information that we had. See, people get upset when you break a story. I don't understand. They just do. I saw, look at this, upset that I broke a story. Ridiculous, but it doesn't take us off. Remember, one thing about social media, it can be challenging, but you can't I'll tell you what social media does. Social media illuminates and highlights that there are many people that are uneducated, actually illiterate, certainly low IQ, and it does not stop them from commenting. And whenever we break a story, and I've been through this, is that no matter how much I try to tell people, you don't barge into a room and start asking questions. You enter and listen and then pick up on the conversation. I don't know how you were raised, but you don't walk in to a room and just start asking questions. Much like if people are watching a movie. That's one downfall of today. So, is there, do you believe, how much of this, is there any new information? You have one person saying what's going on, and then you have someone else saying, is there any new information? Karen, please stop sharing that. Okay? I'm not going to tell you again. They gave me no credit, so I'm not going to say it again. So you have some people that are saying, what's the story? And then you have people saying, well, then what? Listen, there's no end to the rudeness. There just isn't. But we're going to push through it. But you can't let those individuals, you can't let those individuals throw it off. The rest of the media will pick up on it. So right now, that's really, as far as we know, Ponaganset, they have not issued a statement to the police, or excuse me, to the students or the parents. Nothing. And they need to. They absolutely need to. I don't know why they're being silent. So now they're confirming that she resigned and that state police are investigating. So now it starts to take off. But I want you to understand that those of you that follow Road Patrol, I know, ignore the rude. This comes down to, were there complaints? Because now my inbox has been filled with parents saying this has been going on for quite some time. And this is someone who's flirty with the boys. There's a mother that said she was always hugging kids, taking selfies with them. Folks, there should be no hugging of children, of students. None. Zero. In North Kingstown, it was almost seen with the naked fat test that the coach could get away with it because there were some people that were just saying, well, that there were people that were saying, well, that's just part of being an athlete and that's what you have to go through sometimes. And then, you realize there was no justification. There was no one in the country doing those types of tests. There was no legitimate test that would, in fact, put a young male alone in a closet with a teacher who would then say, you shy and not shy, and have the child stripped down. Now, in this particular situation, what you have is not only do you have this gym teacher and allegations, and now you have someone that resigned. And again, the details are on the website. And I feel very confident about the details of a young former student, was a student, had a friend, found an iPad, had some video and photos, and then it became public. But the parents of the young man are involved. The family of the teacher, who is married, was notified, and the school was notified. But what this comes back to, what has surprised me, are the number of. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was apparently going on for a pretty extended period of time. And I also want to be very clear. Thank you, Ken. These are really serious allegations. And I'm not going down the rabbit hole with people. There are people already trying to run cover. I get that. Some people, well, if this happened and he's a former student, there's nothing wrong with it. That's not the allegations we're hearing about. But what I come back to is the Ponaganset school system. They have some questions to answer. If, in fact, this was going on, and how come if you had, with other teachers that noticed that, because people have told me that parents and other teachers would mention that she seemed to dress inappropriately. And she would dress inappropriately. It was a little too handsy, touching some of the boys that would be, in the class, what have you. Send them out to get food, whatever. But it's the school that really needs to be held accountable here. And I want to be very clear about that. Yes, the gym teacher, that's one thing. But let's look at what we know. And I fully grant we don't know everything. Now other people are going to jump on the story. Now you will start to see the story rocket. True. Now other people are confirming. I get it. The school system's upset with me. I did reach out to them yesterday. They confirmed to someone else. She's resigned, and the state police are investigating. Now it'll be into play. But what has to be answered is the fact that, were there complaints? Were there parents that complained? Were there teachers that said something? What if this were, and this was what really also stands out to me, what if this was gender reversed? Was this allowed because it was a female gym teacher and young male boys? Was it allowed and people just went past it? Because what if the gender was reversed? Now let's have a male teacher. Now let's have young females, and the hugging and the selfies. And then if there's rumors that's starting. So would that be allowed, or was it allowed? So that part, that remains unknown. That remains unknown. I want to remind people So we posted this and broke the story last night. It remained that way for, let's see, 15 hours. I tracked that type of thing. And now another source has confirmed she resigned from the superintendent and there was a state police investigation. I also want to remind the school, who I know they're watching right now, you can't just hide behind that there's a state police investigation. There's a problem with schools and how they communicate. And we've seen this in other instances where the schools basically try to ignore the problem and want it to go away. And much like North Kingstown and that coach, it doesn't. It blows up. And it actually doesn't go away. It gets worse. And the more they try to hide it, for instance, I am unaware, and I'll check, but I don't think the school has even put out an email to parents. And there should be an email to parents. Of course there should be. Still no email. Amazing. That's not leadership. That is not leadership by Ponaganset and the superintendent. So what do we know? It goes beyond allegations. This is very serious, especially in light of the fact that it's not just a one-off. It's not like, what I mean by that is like just a one-time type thing. Apparently, there are allegations that this started when he was young and went on for some time. There's a problem in the school district that they are supposed to be protecting the students. And many times, because of the mentality with the teachers' unions, much like Barrington, all they tend to do is circle the wagons and protect each other. Now, again, I'm going to refer to the website because there's details that more than one student has come forward. What does that tell us? This tells me this could be a very active, ongoing investigation. Where are we in it? Right now, we're still in the first inning. I don't know where this is going to go. If these allegations are proven true, then this is potentially a jail case. And for those that don't think it is, again, I'm going to remind you, how would you feel if gender was reversed? If gender was reversed, would you then still say it's not a jail case? So now I want to stay on schedule. Yes, we do commercials. We're not commercial free. Why? Right now we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. We're also live on Facebook, X, and YouTube. This has nothing to do, by the way. Oh, never mind. Some of these people come in. Didn't you hit some lady's tail light at the Karen Reed trial? As if that has anything to do with anything. But those people, there are some people, I get it. There's haters out there. There's people that just try to come out and for whatever reason, they just want to, hate. Thank you, Frankie. That is exactly right. Because we forced it out. That is exactly right. And then you have this type of hagbag. It's not. Okay. Well, where else was it broken? It wasn't. So, beat it, hagbag. There you go. All right. Thank you, Frankie. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by J. Perry Paving. This is the time of year if you want to get your driveway paved. Call J. Perry Paving today, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730, letter J, J. Perry Paving. Give them a call, request a quote. Remember, with J. Perry Paving, they have a fantastic package for veterans with J. Perry Paving. So maybe you're a veteran, or maybe your son is, or maybe your grandfather is, or your grandma. J. Perry Paving. Happy birthday, Heather. Folks, give them a call today, 732-1730 for J. Perry Paving. So, to repeat, isn't it amazing? Why would someone be upset that we broke the story? I don't know, but we did break the story. Now, we do use, it shouldn't be. They're in cover-up mode right now. The school and the district is in cover-up mode. They don't want to admit that they had heard complaints about this gym teacher. They don't want to admit that they had had complaints made by parents, by other teachers. They don't want to admit that. Nope, they are in full denial right now. They want nothing to see here. Yeah, she resigned, and the state police, they're investigating, and we have nothing more to say about it. Yeah, not so fast. Not so fast there, Superintendent. Oh, no, you have a lot to answer for. Yes, you do. And that's what needs to be revealed. What complaints were made? What complaints were made by other teachers? What complaints were made by parents? Did anyone say, hey, this seems a little odd? This gym teacher seems a little too friendly with some of the students. And again, I also want you to know that right now that I have more information. I have a lot more information. We don't put it all out at once. We want to confirm some things. We want to nail it down. But this isn't rumor. What we reported last night on DePietro.com, we have another update coming after this broadcast, is 100% accurate, nailed down. I admit, this is very serious. The school district has a lot to answer to. And whether it's the assistant principal or the principal or the superintendent, this falls right on them. Many times I have found in dealing with people in education, the higher ups, the administration, they can be very difficult because they talk to everyone like they're a student. They talk to everyone like, we're not talking about this, and they think it's over. So we don't know that. I don't know if it happens at other schools, but we do know that the gym teacher at Ponaganset or Ponaganset High School, allegations that her involvement with a former student, and it started when he was a younger student. And because I've heard from some parents saying, nothing new here, this is common knowledge, it was wrong. What's new is she resigned and the state police are investigating. So, but what about Amanda Grundel, the principal? What about Renee Palazzo, the superintendent? What about Patricia Hill, the assistant principal? Here's a good question. What are these people doing? What are these people doing? Why were there? Did anyone ever say to her, hey, I don't know about that outfit you wore? Did anyone call her in and say, I don't know about this. You shouldn't be hugging students. You shouldn't be hugging students. Did anyone say that? I've heard reports either at the prom or at homecoming, and this is cringy to even talk about, but there was, like dirty dancing and that type of thing. So then everyone's witnessing it. Do you understand when you allow this is the administration within Ponaganset. That is who needs to answer some questions here. That's right. Thank you. We came up with that. Ponaganset. Yep. It needs to be called out. 100%. They need to answer some questions. And what would I be very curious that probably will come with the investigation is, were there complaints? Were there email complaints from parents? Were there email complaints from other teachers? Or were people told, look the other way, nothing to see here? I don't know. I don't know. As I've said, I didn't say we have, some people treat this is not as if the story's over and now we're moving on and, it's the ninth inning. This is all just breaking. And I understand some people know some members of the family and they're upset. I get that I broke the story. I'm aware of that, but my this is news. And I also want to be very clear. This is not, oh, Jerry Springer. This is not a matter of that. This is news. When you have a gym teacher at a school and there's a physical relationship with a student, a male student, or it doesn't matter the gender actually, but especially adult female and male, at least one male student, if not more, you may not consider it news. You may consider it, who cares? You may be, and I get that sometimes these types of stories, they make people uncomfortable for whatever reason. They do. This is not a matter of Jerry Springer. Let me just explain. That is if the allegations prove true. This is a jail case. Do you understand that? That this is a jail case. This is, people go to jail for this. This should, let me be very clear. This should, for some people, for those in the back, this should not be happening in a school, period. This is not one of these, and I get this from people, oh, come on, everybody, they try to, when we were kids, we did this or that. Listen, this is unacceptable, period, end of story. Stop trying to, people try to do, it's passive aggressive. Oh, what about the war? Oh, there's bigger stories. What about the war in Israel? Like, what are you talking about? This is a story. There'll always be, I try to explain that to people, there'll always be children starving in Africa, but we talk about other news. How come you're not talking about that? We can juggle both. But this is news, and this better be news. The day that it is not news is when it becomes a real problem. Folks, I want to report, what's not news is that Watson Material carries the largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Call them 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600. Watson Materials. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, cobblestone, decorative stone. Call Sean at Watson Materials today. 401-885-0600. It's Watson Materials. So just to repeat, yes, this is a big story. And yes, I'm talking about it. Maybe some people don't like that we broke it, that the rest of the media are now trying to catch up. I want you to know, number one, we didn't come to it lightly. Number two, we're not going to put up something like that unless we have it solid. And now you will start to see it on Channel 10, on Channel 12. Yes, now you will start to see other local news. Maybe then people feel better. They're reading it in the Providence Journal. Fine, whatever. If that makes you a little more comfortable, that's where then you get to read it, then that's fine. But what we do is provide news. Yeah, that's right. How about that? Leave her alone. You're ruining her life. Listen, look at this. Look at that. You have nothing else to do and go. Look at that. All right, now I'm going to guess friend of the teacher. So in other words, that's not news. Amanda, I don't know who this person is. You have nothing else to do in your day. I don't know what that is referring to. That is someone that doesn't consider it news. Listen, a big part of this job is knowing what's news. It has always served me well. And this is news. And that's why we broke it. And maybe some people, they don't, and I get it. It's so strange, folks. There it is. There's the expression, you're not paranoid if there are, in fact, people against you. There's people out there. They're just, for whatever reason, they're like haters. They just are. I agree. I admit, I'm not sure what to make of it, but look at that. The story, we had it right. We have more details, and now will continue to be furthered. So, see this type of thing. That's right. I don't know who this is, but I like I've said, enough of the oh, okay. Enough of the uneducated. You know, we can't. And I'm not going to be distracted by that foolishness. There are illiterate individuals. There are, that's exactly right. Juan fixes it. We put it out there. We did. That is exactly the right thing, Katrina. Double standard. If it was a male teacher with a young girl, people would be up in arms. Well, there's going to be ramifications. There are. So she is. Folks, and again, I'm well aware, but we have it up on the website. You know, one of the other things I also want to point out is one of the reasons why I break the stories on DePetro.com is if I just put it on social media, people say I can't find it, and I just scroll around. It's all right there. And we're going to have another story on it coming up. So I don't know, but I do know. Let me tell you about Corey, I'll tell you what he would like to do. Corey would like to epoxy your garage, and they do a fantastic job. And you need to get on the list while they still can. Quality asphalt seal coating, 401-283-9815. Sport court resurfacing, pickleball, tennis, basketball, call them to epoxy your garage and patio. Decorative concrete flooring, it's quality asphalt seal coating, 401-283-9815. You know, it makes a huge difference for your garage. Epoxy garages, patios, decorative concrete flooring. They'll resurface your pickleball court, tennis court, basketball court. Quality asphalt seal coating, 401-283-9815. So I'm not sure what to make of those that say they attended. No one is that shocked, heard the rumor. It should be, but it should be. So it should be shocking, and students should be protected. It should be going on. So I'll say this because folks, and many of the mods and many of our regular subscribers, and subscribe to on our Facebook page, become a subscriber. The people that are upset, some of the comments about the Ponaganset high school gym teacher. We broke the news on DePetro.com. Now it's being furthered. Yes, she resigned. Yes, the state police are involved. We're still waiting for the school district to issue a statement. They're going to have to. But the fact they haven't tells you how they got themselves in the situation that they were in. So, but what I want you to know is, despite the people that were posting, this is fake news, it wasn't. The people that were posting, I just Googled this, no one else has it. Now they will. Despite all of the uneducated, illiterate, the people out there, leave her alone, you're ruining her life. The story is out there. The story was accurate. The story was broken. Now others will glob on. Do I expect other local media will credit us? No, of course not. Of course not. They don't like it. I'm okay with it. But this is another example. There are people among us that forget your media habits of the 80s. Forget your media habits of the 90s. We post information. Could the story have been longer? Yes, of course. Could the story? I don't think it's confusing. I think it's pretty clear what happened. So it's there. Could we have, I don't know about broken it sooner, but this is another example. Here's what I'm trying to, there are those of us with kids in the school deserve to hear from the school. I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm not disagreeing with that, Heidi. Yep. Yes. It's exactly right. They don't want anybody commenting on it. I am shocked. And I did. I reached out to the school yesterday, silence. But he reached out to the superintendent, silence. They want to hide. It's not going away. But here's my message to those out there. Doug White is not walking through that door. Bill Reynolds is not walking through that door, sports fans. Jim Taricani, Jack White, they're not walking through that door. Listen, there are many people. You want us and me, because I don't work alone with DePietro.com, to adapt to your habits. Doesn't work that way. You have to adapt to the new media, how we put it out. And I also want to remind people, it's happening in real time. There are some people that they're stuck with. They think, okay, here's a newspaper story. I'm going to read it, 150 words, 100 words, and in that is all the details. That's not what this is. This is happening in real time. I find this when we're out at a scene. Yesterday in work, what's going on here? Who's in that house? How long? We don't know. There's an armed standoff. Warwick police did a fantastic job. You have a barricaded suspect. We're playing it out as we go along. But as I had predicted, this Ponaganset story is big. I do think this will become a national story. And I don't try to get into the minds of people that put foolish comments. I could start to screenshot them and post them. I could. There were people posting. All I can think of is either they're friends maybe with the husband, maybe they're friends with her, but there were people posting it. You could see the comments. This is fake. She doesn't teach there. Okay, you can believe that, but it's true. But if you're a parent and you have a child in the Ponaganset system, I think you have a right to be disappointed. You have a right to be upset. You have a right to question from that superintendent, why didn't you get information sooner? Why are they learning about it from me? Why are they learning about it in the media? Why wasn't there an email sent? I already know the answer to a lot of this, tragically, and that is they panic, they go in the bunker, no one knows what to do. Let's pretend it's not there and it's going to go away. The story's not going to go away. We'll just ignore John DePietro. We're not going to call him back. We're not going to respond to his email. And then maybe if we hide under the desk and hide under the bed, the story's going to go away. The story's not going away. It's going to get bigger. They would have been so much better served if over the weekend they put it on an email to parents addressing this. That superintendent failed the students. They would have been much better served if they had put out an email yesterday and addressed this head on. They chose not to do it. They'll hide behind the legality of it. They'll hide behind, it's a student and he was underage. They'll hide behind all of that. But the fact of the matter is, this is the ultimate, you ignore a small smoking fire and then it turns into an inferno. And that's what you have. Again, we're going to have an update on the story coming on our website, DePietro.com. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Everyone else, I don't know. We have some developments with the story. Enjoy this beautiful Tuesday. Visit the website, DePietro.com.